Maureen and Laureen came to Maple River together, married local and stayed local, and for more than a decade taught together at Maple River. Today we'll take a look back with Mrs. Hollerick and Mrs. Zuri and also learn how they've been spending their golden years. This video is brought to you by the following sponsors. Emerald Travel and Cruises. Without a travel agent, you're on your own. All About the Yard. We're dedicated to helping you enjoy your lawn. Please call John at 341-8170 for a free estimate. KS Designs. If you're looking to update your kitchen or bathroom, KS Designs of Mapleton is here for you. I recently met with both Laureen and Maureen to ask them what was it like to grow up back in the day as twins in the Fitzsimmons family.
Well, we were born in 1950, and we are the oldest of 9 children. We have 7 younger brothers, all bigger than us by now, of course. It didn't take long. And so we spent a lot of time outside, grew up on a farm, and we didn't get out into the farming itself too much because of all those boys. We were busy cooking and cleaning and things like that, but helping the house, right? Our mom and dad had lost their firstborn as a baby, so when we came along, 10 months later, it was like an answer to a prayer, I think, that we could never replace him, and then Dad, we were born on March 31st, like 15 minutes before April Fool's. So when our dad went back to town and started telling people, because they only knew it about 2 weeks before I started telling people that he had twins, nobody would believe him because he was such a jokester. And you spent, a month in the hospital? I got to go home after 2 weeks, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, but healthy in every other manner, I guess, so.
Next, I asked them what was their path on becoming a teacher.
Decided we could go to MSU, and being the oldest of 9, it was like, even at that point, when tuition was $6 a credit or something. $100 for a full load at quarter. Yeah. So when we had PTO scholarship, $100, so that was going to pay, but we had to stay at home. And so she was signed up to be a sociology major.
Ooh.
I wanted to be a social worker.
Okay.
And I was signed up for nursing.
So math wasn't on either radar.
No. But at the beginning of the summer, when I got out of high school, then I went on training at the hospital to be a nurse's aide. Well, first day, second day, third day, fourth day, we're all in the basement learning things. One day on the floor, half a day on the floor, Thursday afternoon. And Friday morning, I remember this like it was yesterday, sitting at the kitchen table with my dad, and I was crying, and I said, I can't go back. And he said, you don't have to. And so then I got through the first quarter of MSU, and I was taking sociology and psychology, and people in the class were coming up with all these theories, and it didn't make any sense to me. Needed something a little more concrete.
Okay.
So by the second quarter, we were both math majors. I think one of the biggest reasons was that we always enjoyed math. And one of the teachers we had in high school, Dale Borchert, we both just loved his teaching, which made it love the material, again. So, I would credit him with it.
Yeah.
For being a math teacher, and I would also credit Dorothy Bammert, who was an elementary teacher. We actually had her for 7th and 8th grade. And then when I started teaching in Amboy, she was still teaching. in Good Thunder. But she was, a mom who had 6 kids and made it all work.
Uh-huh.
And so then I could see that, that was possible.
Oh. I next asked them what some of their early teaching experiences were like.
So I started in Amboy, though.
Okay.
I went as a long-term sub when she had 2 of her babies. And then I taught with a half a year, I think. And then the next year, I was going to be a utility teacher for 8th grade, like whatever they didn't have somebody to do. Well, I was game to do it. But then we got a new priest in Good Thunder, and he was the superintendent at Loyola.
Oh, that's
so when he found out I was a math teacher and they needed a math teacher, he hired me.
And what year was that?
That was 1981.
1981. Okay. So
and I stayed there
till
till
a while.
Yeah, till 1999.
Gotcha.
So 18 years. So yeah, and it was hard to leave there. Because I'd had almost some kids of parents, not quite. But,
and what was your experience? Where did you start?
Well, I graduated from college in 72, and then worked at doing homebound teaching and subbing for a year. And then that next fall, they needed 2 math teachers actually in Amboy. Now, I probably wouldn't have gotten a job if they had only needed one, because they were also looking for a football coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that wasn't going to happen.
No football in your background?
No.
Okay.
No. So they needed 2, and so I was hired to teach starting the fall of 73.
Gotcha.
And I still had 5 brothers in school there. And my husband had several siblings in school there.
No.
But
brothers and
siblings.
No,
it all worked out. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. They knew they better behave.
Were they supportive, or did they cause troubles?
No, they were supportive.
Good.
Yep.
So,
yep. Because they knew if they weren't, they'd be in trouble when they weren't.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. So we both worked we had to work, So we both worked at grocery stores. So I was a cashier at Madison's. During college.
Yeah,
during college. At Madison's Value Center down by West High School. Maureen had a job up at Red Owl on the other end of town.
Another classical name.
Yeah, right. So we would get questions all the time where people would come in. Well, people used to go from store to store getting their items. And so, didn't I just see you up on the hill at Red Owl? No, pretty close, but not me. I can't think of any specific instances, but I do kind of feel bad for the kids that I had that first year. They're probably carrying some scars.
They're carrying scars. Gotcha.
Right. How about the first time computers came in? Oh, yes. I taught the first computer programming classes in Amboy. And we had a minor computer programming.
Okay.
I think it was the first year you could get that.
Wow. Yeah.
So I taught the first computer programming classes. I want to say it was like 79 or 80, something like that. And all we had was a little teletype connected to MSU, which was an absolutely huge computer. And we couldn't go buy the computer, of course. And
just leased out? Is that what it was?
Yeah, well, it was we didn't have a computer in school, obviously. It was just a little teletype in a closet. And you'd have to actually pick up the phone receiver, put it on the modem, and dial, and then 9 times out of 10 it was busy. So we did a lot of flow charting. 25 students in a class. Yes, 25 kids in there.
On the technology.
Yes, and one little teletype in a closet. But it was a good start. I don't know if we turned out any computer techs or not, but there are some people that are, made it into.
Laureen, any memories of what was I doing back in those days?
I think when I went in, I did these short little stints, like half a year. Okay. So it was easier for me to, if something did go wrong that time, I could pick up from the beginning. And
nobody would remember it the next year.
And pass the mistakes on to me. Right, probably. So I think that probably helped me a little bit.
Gotcha. Now you've seen a lot through your years. When you came in, from being Amboy to the consolidation to another consolidation, you coming in '99, and there was still plenty of change from there. Any sort of observations on just changes to Maple River?
Well, when I first started, we both graduated from Good Thunder High School.
Yep.
And then, so when I first started in Amboy, there were a lot of the teachers there that I had in high school. So that was fun to work with them in a little bit different light. And then I went till 1987. That's when Amboy Good Thunder became MAGT.
Yep.
And then in '89, then MAGT became Maple River when Minnesota Lake signed on. So I think for a few years there was constantly getting used to new staff, new kids. Otherwise,
new T-shirts.
New T-shirts.
What do you mean by
sweatshirts?
Oh, it's just the changing of the logos.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
What's our acronym this year?
Yeah, exactly. What are we going to be this year? But it was exciting too, to have all those changes come around. And then, the last few years was kind of status quo. I think the class offerings changed a lot. Towards, I'm not sure when we actually started the college classes. First I taught some AP, calculus and pre-calculus, and then we went to the Southwest state, and I think those were big improvements for the kids who, wanted to get a head start on college.
Next, I asked them to reflect upon some of their cherished memories as a teacher.
I think I cherish the years when my own kids were in high school, and I mean sometimes I think I was just there to come and get some money after school, but
Yeah.
But those were good years in watching them develop in their education and personalities.
Maureen?
I think when I was down at Loyola, and it has nothing to do with what's good and what's bad, but there was really a parent part of teaching down there. They were so involved with and so it was great to get to know the families, and as different younger ones would come in, and I know that happens here too, but I think I did see the difference when I moved out here, that it wasn't quite as strong, but it didn't need to be, maybe, because
Sure.
they did a lot of volunteer work down there that kept the budget, low. So, I think getting to know the parents.
I taught with Kathy Dirty she started in 1974 and then retired just a couple of years before I did. So I think, we really had a good friendship, and so many other ones. I mean, there's still, there are two teachers that we have coffee with twice a week at Maggie J's. So many friendships. There was when I first started in Amboy, Millie Davis had been teaching in Amboy for many years. She was about my mother's age, and she taught English and Spanish. But she was also a neighbor of mine out at the farm, and so we became very good friends as well.
When I started Loyola, I met Marilyn Schuneman. Marilyn was the business teacher, and her room was right across from mine. And so on our way down to the very first workshop day, we came out of our door and we met, and we never lost touch.
Oh, wow.
So she taught there the whole time I did, and she's still a great friend. We travel together, we meet for lunches, and so definitely Marilyn Schumann.
Finally, we get to the subject of retirement. So I asked them what they've been doing now that they're retired.
Sometimes I wonder what fills my days, but they're full. Well, I have 7 grandchildren who range in age from 8 to 21.
Wow.
So, when I retired, there were a couple of them that weren't even born yet.
Yeah.
So, I've done a fair amount of daycare. I never was a full-time daycare for anybody, but I was on call. I usually got the sick ones or the vacation days, from school. So, so when they were all little, that really took up a lot of my time. And I've done a fair amount of traveling and
Favorite travel destination so far?
Holy Land.
Oh, wow. That's a serious trip.
And I'm glad I went when I did.
Very good. Yeah, no kidding. Although it's hard to pick that one through the millennia.
Yeah. I also enjoyed Ireland and Rome. So those were all highlight
Very good.
trips, I guess.
Excellent. All right, your turn.
Ditto.
Cheat.
I would say, yeah, I'm in her coffee group.
Yes.
So, and then my grandchildren were older when I ended up in Maple River, but I've got 4, and the youngest one is a junior, so we're heading towards the finish line there too.
Oh yeah, got a tennis meet to get to.
Yeah, so my grandchildren are 16 to 25, and the 25-year-old just got married last weekend, so that's a new chapter.
Yep.
So, and then I too have traveled. I've taken all those same trips with her.
You guys travel apart though?
Yeah.
Sometimes with our husbands,
Gotcha.
we travel separately, but a lot of the big trips have been taken.
Excellent.
I thought I would have a whole lot of free time and not know what to do. Obviously, I don't do windows, but something fills up the day.
Okay.
And you don't know when you get up in the morning, what that's going to be necessarily, and it doesn't make any difference. Whatever makes you happy that day, whatever, if you want to have a project to get done, okay. If not, that's okay too. So.
I think some of the projects that I thought I was going to get done, I'm not getting done because I'll just do it tomorrow.
Oh.
I think I was much more efficient in what I got done when I was teaching, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I never used to really have to have a calendar, that I wrote things in because I knew where I was going to be every day. But now I have to have that calendar and check it out because every day is different.
Having taught generations of Maple River students, I asked Maureen and Laureen what advice they had for new teachers entering into the field.
Well, I'd say, first of all, that I enjoyed it and I would not be afraid of it or listen. I know I've heard some teachers say, oh, they would never go into teaching again, but I definitely would. And I would never try to discourage anyone from teaching.
And I think that for sure, the same. You hear parents say their child wants to be a teacher and they go, oh my gosh, they don't get paid enough. The kids are so bad. But I never had that side of it. And I think too, like teachers like our age that went through so many changes.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you talked about every year it was a new OBE or it was technology, No Child Left Behind. There were so many issues like that would come up. And you kept up with it. You did what you had to do, but in the bottom line, you still need to get the material across to the student.
Right.
However you can do it at that point. But I do think the technology, that came up from that teletype in the closet to each having their own little computer, and if it doesn't come up right away,
it's a crisis.
Oh, it is.
And I think the kids are impatient in that.
Oh,
regard.
absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
Used to
Rather
having,
than waiting for the modem.
right, used to having everything pretty instantaneously. And
Yes. I also asked Maureen and Laureen how they feel education has changed since their career began.
I think I have noticed in the subbing that I've done over the years, even when I first started subbing to like last year, is that there's a lack of camaraderie
Oh.
with the teachers. And I'm sure it's a lot of it is they have their phone, they have things on their computer, they stay in their rooms,
Gotcha.
and eat lunch rather than go to the lunchroom.
Sure.
And I think you're missing something, and I think it's the same way in business with all the people working from home. So
I remember one time when Dan Anderson was the principal, he had made up a tentative schedule for the fall. And this was in the spring, and he said, now just take a look at this and see if you see anything, that could be changed or should be changed, or if you have any thoughts on that. So Kathy, Judy, and I had eaten lunch together every day for like 30-some years, and we were not scheduled to have lunch together. So I went and talked to Dan, and I said, I see a big problem with this schedule. Kathy and I do not have lunch at the same time. Well, needless to say, he didn't change it for that reason. So we went a year without having lunch together, but we survived.
But those sort of things, you still get used to them. That I understand how that, there's that comfort there. Where in a uncomfortable world of teaching teenagers, you need those little comforts, don't you?
Yes. And my daughter now teaches at Maple River, so I kind of wish I would have hung around a few more years to get to be in the hall with her. But we still talk a lot about teaching.
when I first came to Mapleton, somebody said, "Oh, that's so cool, you're teaching with your sister. How often do you see Maureen?" I said, "Every 43 minutes.
I know. People don't realize that part, do they?
Right.
That it's just like you don't really get to see the adults.
No.
That's so strange, isn't it? That my wife would be like, blah, 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 so she wanted to talk about so-and-so. I was like, they're downstairs.
Yeah.
It's like they don't even exist to me.
That's
you
right.
know?
And we were right across the hall from one another, and between classes you step out in the hall, but it's about time enough to say, "Hi, how was that class?" Or didn't get to talk much. But I one time read that teaching is a lonely profession because for that reason you don't see the other adults.
Despite retiring from Maple River, Maureen and Laureen are often seen at Maple River activities. So I asked them to reflect on some of their favorite memories.
We weren't into sports,
Parents.
but as parents, yeah. Well, Sarah was on the championship softball team, and must have been 92.
Okay.
Yep. And then my son-in-law, of course, reminds us often that he was on the championship basketball team in 1992 as well, I think that was. And then, of course, with my grandchildren, Claire just made her 2,000th point in basketball. That was a pretty exciting night. And now I've still got 2 grandchildren in college and 5 still in school in Maple River, so got a lot of sports. Every night of the week we can go to something.
Laureen, any standout moments?
Well, I think when the youngest one, Macy, went to state in tennis last year, that had to be because she was a sophomore and loves the game, totally loves the game. So she was so happy, and we were very happy for her. So I hope we repeat.
Finally, Laureen and Maureen shared a little anecdote about how identical these 2 twins truly are.
Well, we were often asked if we were identical twins, and we really didn't know scientifically whether we were or not. So when it became popular to Ancestry.com and send your DNA in, we did that. So Laureen sent hers in first, and then I purposely waited a couple of weeks to send mine in. And then one day we both got an email that we should call a specific number. So we both called the number, and they asked us both the same 3 questions. Did you send in a sample before? Did a sibling send in a sample? Is there a chance that your sample was tampered with? And of course we both said, well, a sibling had sent in a sample, and they said that's all we need to know. And then
Bingo, they said.
Yep. And
Now
then
we know.
Yep. And then shortly we got a email or a report from Ancestry.com that we were identical.
Identical twins.
Exactly the same.
Wow. And so that was a red flag to them that
Right.
it's the same DNA.
Right.
So then our kids all sent theirs in. And so, for instance, when my Dan sent his and got a report, it said that he has a parent-child relationship with me through DNA and also with her. So that and the grandkids, the same thing.
That's a messed up kind of fantasy world kind of family tree, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
So now they'll say that I'm their DNA grandma.
Or my kids say Dan is their brother by another mother.
A special thanks to the Mapleton Area Foundation for sponsoring videos like this. The Mapleton Area Foundation has been striving to improve the quality of life in the Mapleton area since 1992. Some recent investments include new banners for Town and Country Days and promoting Mapleton as the curling capital of Minnesota, a new pickleball court, and vital support for the Victory Highway Veterans Monument. Along with these investments, it has brought several community programs, such as Songs on the Lawn, the Fall Festival, Photo of the Month competition. As a 501c organization and affiliate of the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, the current board is committed to connecting people, ideas, and resources to benefit all.